Let's start way back. I was quite the little athlete in high school. I played hockey, was captain of the swim team, was on a couple of volleyball teams, did a little cross-country running, played ultimate, and rode my mountain bike. Well, you get the idea. In fact, I was so good, I was awarded Senior Male Athlete of the Year when I graduated. Impressed? I thought so. However, nobody wants to hear me stand up here and talk about how great I am. Except for Kevin, he loves that kind of stuff. He's not here today, he's in Toronto. So, I graduated high school in 2006. Some of you were still in diapers. That means Seth. Except for Brendan. He was already practicing law, running for parliament, and just generally fighting the good fight. After my departure from my glory days as a high school jock, I fell off the bandwagon completely. I found myself with a year off and not a whole lot to do. So I did what many a young Ontarian has done. I moved out west and became a snow bunny. And by that I mean a ski bum. Except with a snowboard. I worked at Panorama Resort as a housekeeper. When I wasn't cleaning dirty hotel rooms or shredding the gnar, I drank a lot of beer and bummed around. Sure, I was riding a lot, hiking, that kind of stuff, but generally I was just slowing down and getting fat. After 4.5 months, the season ended. I flew back to Toronto for a couple weeks, and I went tree planting for the summer. I worked my ass off, and I lost 15 pounds. By the end of that summer, I was strong, I was fit, I was ready to take on the world. And by the world, I mean UBC. I showed up to university ready to be transformed into a regular triathlete. So I frantically started sending emails to the UBC Triathlon Club. You know, at the time, I didn't think all those emails were that funny. But now, after having been president for a year, and after having received 100 or so of those emails, it's pretty funny to look back at myself as an eager first year. After a couple of weeks, 8 to 10 emails, a few hours wandering around the sub looking for room 107B, and a few nervous panic attacks, I tracked down some members at club days, gave them a bunch of my money, and that was it. I then started to call myself a triathlete. I even went out and bought a bike, so it had to be real. Let me tell you a little bit about the club back then. It was a lot different. The member base was scarce. We had a relatively solid group of swimmers, who, by the way, were swimming in the deep end, i.e. the 25-yard pool on weekdays, and had the luxury of swimming in the 25-meter pool on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. The cyclists were few and far between, and there were plenty of runs that year where there were only 2 or 3 people. We still pushed it pretty hard, though. I remember doing hill workouts with a group and getting my ass handed to me by Winston on the first 1 or 2 intervals, then watching him fade back for the 4th or 5th repeat. If you'll believe it, there are actually a few people here that were with me in the club 5 years ago. Winston, he's not here, but he's running Boston. He's actually been part of this club for 2 years longer than I have. Among those others who I met in first year are Vince, Brittany, Barry, and Rachel. Both Vince and Brittany have been our roommates over the years, and I'm lucky to have met them. The biggest thing that was lacking in that first year was a solid leadership base. We had a club president in the form of Kevin Donat, who basically defaulted into being president because no one else was around to do it. The treasurer never came to practice, and the rest of the exec positions were essentially unfilled. Not a lot got organized in the club, and the club was basically surviving on a few people showing up to work every now and again. So, when the end of the year started approaching, Kevin started to try and scrape together an executive for the next year. He decided that he would be president again. Some other people took some various positions, and somehow I got wrangled into being the treasurer. My second year with the club was when things started to get a little better. More people were coming out, we were socializing, and the books were balanced. Or at least that's what I told everyone. That was the first year of the welcome barbecue and the year-end banquet. I think we even started swimming in the outdoor pool that year, at least once or twice a week. You're welcome. And we, of course, started doing the beer mile. Again, you're welcome. My third year with the club was when it really started to accelerate towards what it is today. I was no longer treasurer because I had started my co-op rotation, so I assumed the role of VP Matt to just be around and generally help out wherever I could. Barry was president for a minute or two before and Fizz swallowed it whole. Gordon and Nathaniel were also in the exec committee that year, which made for a pretty awesome group to have very unproductive meetings with. You want to know what really moved our club forward, though? Vince's ego. You see, Vince thought he was graduating that year.
Never gets old.
So he decided he needed to leave a legacy. He came up with an extremely elaborate way to get his name branded into the club history books forever. He created the Vincent Lavallee Cup, and with it the Fall Classic and Spring Fling race series. That first race series was pretty darn exciting. We had way more events than we do now, including the underwater swim. Nathaniel went 72 meters. We had the tire change and the swim relay. I still hold that tire change record, by the way.
Minute 27.
No, Kellen stole it from you last year.
What's that?
Kellen stole it from you
I
last
don't
year.
believe that.
No, he destroyed you.
We wanted to make sure that people got rewarded for showing up, so people got participation points. More than anything, the race series is made to be consistent all-rounder. The person that does well in the race series is the person that shows up the most often, works hard in all three sports, and talks a lot of smack. And yes, I did win it 3 times in a row. Other things to note from my 3rd year, we're getting our first sponsors and our first bike kits. That was huge. We became a club that was recognizable around campus and around Vancouver. To be honest, when we first started talking to West Point, I was a little skeptical.